यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जना यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कुञ्जविहारी जय राधमाधव जय कुञ्जविहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि ओम तत्सत. Please recite the invocation mantra along with me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraet Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishteki. So today we shall be discussing on Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 3 entitled The Status Quo, Chapter 22 entitled The Marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, Shloka 28. It's okay, Prabhuji. Whoever the reading books are available, we will read. If everyone does not have it, we can then do Hare Krishna Mahamantra Sankirtan Yajna. No issues. Right? So, Shloka 28. Please recite along with me. Tamayantam abhipretya brahmavartat prajahpatim gita samstutivaditrai pratyudiyuha praharshitaha tamayantam abhipretya वर्तात् प्रज्ञाः पतिं गीतसंस्तुतिवादित्रै प्रत्युदीयुः प्रहर्षिताः तमायान्तम् अभिप्रेत्य ब्रह्मवर्तात् प्रजापतिं गीतसंस्तुतिवादित्रै प्रत्युदीयुः प्रहर्षिताः. Synonyms, word meaning: tam, him; ayantam, who was arriving; abhipretya, knowing of; brahmavartat, from; brahmavarta, prajaha, his subjects; patim, their lord; gita samstuti vaditrai, with songs, praise and instrumental music. Pratyudiyuha, came forward to greet; praharshitaha, overjoyed. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Overjoyed to know of his arrival, his subjects came forth from Brahmavarta to greet their returning Lord with songs, prayers and musical instruments. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yenam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine Namaha Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayane Gaurakatha Damadaya Nagar Gramatarine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine Namaste Saraswati Devai Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Jayatam Surato Pangur Mama Mandamatir Gati Mat Sarvaswapadam Bhoja Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Srimad Ratnagara Simhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Preshthalibihi Sevyamana Smarami Shriman Rasarsarambi Vamshi Vatatata Stitaha Karshan Venur Swanar Gopi Gopinataha Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Shrute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishve Namaha. Namo Brahmanya Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Anandalila Maya Vigrahaya Hema Bhadivya Chavi Sundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Shri Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhate girim yatkripatamaham vande Paramananda Madhavam Shri Guru Deenataranam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Paramananda Madhavam. Vakshakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. So we will start the discussion after reading Srila Prabhupada's purport. It is the custom of the citizens of the kingdom's capital to receive the king when he returns from a tour. There is a similar description when Krishna returned to Dwaraka after the battle of Kurukshetra. At that time, he was received by all classes of citizens at the gate of the city. Formerly, capital cities were surrounded by walls, and there were different gates for regular entrance. Even in Delhi today, there are old gates, and some other old cities have such gates where citizens would gather to receive the king. Here also, the citizens of Barhishmati, the capital of Brahmavarta, the kingdom of Swayambhuva, came nicely dressed to receive the emperor with decorations and musical instruments. Hare Krishna. So, Kardama Muni and Devahuti got married. So Swayambhuva Manu has returned to his capital along with his wife Satarupa. Now, a beautiful one, Srila Prabhupada, when he has talked about Lord Krishna's return to Dwarka, I remember in 2019 I had given a class in one of the dhams here of Canto 1. This is talking about chapter 11. So I had talked on Shloka 23. Here, when we are talking about citizens coming out to meet, it started from Shloka, the entire chapter was talking about how Lord Krishna has come back, and everybody was absolutely excited, elated, looking forward to meet their Lord. Even in mundane activities, like in the current circumstances, we don't have a great welcoming party only when we win a game. In the senses, like we had this gold medalist who just won recently in the Olympics. There's one, and then second is when we won the Cricket World Cup, right? So when the homecoming, it's called the homecoming party. When the winners come home, they're greeted by the entire nation, right? They're lauded. That you have made me proud. Even when our Prime Minister, he goes for tour, there isn't a great party of reception when he comes back, but especially when he goes to very, very big conferences or convention, right? In different countries, they do have a huge gathering. Like we had for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, there used to be huge gathering in the auditoriums or big stadiums just to meet him and hear his speech, right? Initially. I've not heard recently, but in his initial 5 years where he went to different countries, I've heard about that. So people would buy tickets and meet them. So if this is the situation of very mundane dignitaries and sports person, you can imagine the emperor, what happens, right? And then also imagine further the supreme personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes for this entire world. It is said that there is an etiquette. See, one is even when your family member comes back. We had our Krishna Chandra Prabhuji when he came back after 7 months or 8 months. I'm sure he had a royal reception by Vishnu Priya Mataji. So by family, when one of your parent or your child is gone traveling, even in this mundane activities, when they come back, there is a reception. It's not like you go to meet them in the airport. Usually when people come to India, right, after years, there are a lot of relatives, they come with that garland and they come to meet the person. But now it's all van down because the novelty of flying around is not so great in the last decade. But before, it used to be a very big thing. I remember in my childhood, when I would go back or go for vacation once in 2 years, we would have a lot of relatives to come and meet us, just come over. So that's just meeting and greeting, right? So here, the citizens of a place called, it's described as Brahmavarta. So this place, the citizens are waiting for the great emperor. Now it is said that, especially in the kingdom system, Srila Prabhupada mentions the old times. When the emperors or kings would return, there would be a retinue, right? The retinue would consist of the nutters. They would do the actors. They would show some play, right? So it would be like a mini festival. Then you have nartakas, the dancers. Then you have the gandharvas, the musicians. And then, of course, then comes the praising party, the party who praises. It is described in the 11th chapter of the first canto. They're known as the Sutas. So Sutas would recite from the Vedic scriptures, especially the Puranas, right? Because in Puranas you have stories, nice stories with morals. So very, very important. But it is also Vedic, so very God conscious. Okay. Then there's Magadhas. Magadhas, this lineage would praise. Magadhas, the clan would praise the lineage of the great royal family, that you're very great, your parents were great, your brothers like this, your sisters like this, whatever the lineage, right? Normally it is the male lineage. When we say you can't describe the posterity, but the ancestry they would describe very nicely. Then you have Sutas, Magadhas, and then there is Vandis. The Vandis would praise the Lord, in this case Lord Krishna in chapter 11. So the qualities of the emperor himself, the intelligence, how he's conducting his rule. So these praises, they're very, very important, because they would describe to the subject who would come to meet their emperor that what all tasks their emperor, the king, has done. It is very important for information. Normally, subjects are not, it is not possible for all the subjects to be in every place where the emperor goes, right? So when emperor goes to do some work, some activities, so everybody cannot go there. So normally when they come back, their assembly informs the great deeds of the emperor, of the ruling king, right? So like we say that we have when we have meetings, we have a meeting report, that what have you done, what is this? So because it will affect the kingdom. So this was very important, the meeting and the greeting, and also what activities took place, right? Now why it is very important here for an emperor, and this emperor is a Mahajana. Basically, if an emperor is representing a nation, the repercussions or the result would affect the countrymen. So the countrymen could put their views across. So there were views before that, they put their views across before that, and the views after the action is taken place, right? Now in this case, it was the daughter Devahuti, daughter of the kingdom, right? She was very beautiful, she was loved by everybody. So they wanted to know how her destination was, what happened, so this all what you say, information would have been passed and discussed around, right? So when you're talking about a great personality, especially a Vaishnava, right, from Kardama Muni, Swayambhuva Muni, so obviously when you talk about a Vaishnava, obviously it will end up with the topic of Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. So that is the greatness of describing or discussing about a devotee, right? So let's go to the next shloka. So we will do shloka 29 and 30. Please recite along with me. Barhishmati namapuri sarva sampat samanvita nyapatan yatra romani yajnasyangam vidhunvataha kushah kashasta evasan shashwadharita varchasaha shayo yai parabhavya yajnagnan yagyamijire parhishmati namapuri sarvasampat samanvita nyapatan yatra romani yajnasyangam vidhunvataha kushakashasta evasan shashwadharita varchashaha rishayo yai parabhavya yagnagnan yagyamijare. Synonyms: Barhishmati, Barhishmati, Nama, named, Puri, city, Sarva Sampat, all kinds of wealth, Samanvita, full of, Nyapatan, fell down, Yatra, where, Romani, the hairs, Yajnasya, of Lord Bore, Angam, his body, Vidhunvataha, shaking, Kushaha, kushagrass, Kashaha, kashagrass, Te, they, Eva, certainly, Asan, became, Shashvat Harita, of evergreen, Varchashaha, having the color, Rishayaha, the sages, Yai, by which, Parabhavya, defeating, Yagyagnan, the distributors of sacrificial performances, Yagyam, Lord Vishnu, Ijare, they worshipped. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The city of Barhishmati, rich in all kinds of wealth, was so called because Lord Vishnu's hair dropped there from his body when he manifested himself as Lord Bore, Varaha. As he shook his body, this very hair fell and turned into blades of evergreen, kusha grass, and kasha, another kind of grass used for mats, by means of which the sages worshipped Lord Vishnu after defeating the demons who had interfered with the performance of their sacrifices. Purport: any place directly connected with the Supreme Lord is called Pithasthana. Barhishmati, the capital of Swayambhuva Manu, was exalted not because the city was very rich in wealth and opulence, but because the hairs of Lord Varaha fell at this very spot. These hairs of the Lord later grew as green grass, and the sages used to worship the Lord with that grass after the time when the Lord killed the demon Hiranyaksha. Yajna means Vishnu and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, karma is described as Yajnartha. Yajnartha karma means work done only for the satisfaction of Vishnu. If something is done for sense gratification or any other purpose, it will be binding upon the worker. If one wants to be freed from the reaction of his work, he must perform everything for the satisfaction of Vishnu or Yajna. In the capital of Swayambhuva Manu, Barhishmati, these particular functions were being performed by the great sages and saintly persons. Jai, so beautiful. So now, Swayambhuva Manu has reached his capital, Barhishmati. And what is the glories of Barhishmati in Srimad Bhagavatam Shloka? Not the wealth, not the opulence, because Lord Vishnu was being worshipped there by all the citizens. Why they were worshipped? Because they were being led by a Mahajana who is a Vaishnava. It is said, Tarko Pratishto Shrutayo Vibhinna Nasa Vrishir Yasya Matam na Bhinna. Then Dharmasya. What Dharmasya? Dharmasya, if you have religious principles, okay, after the religious principles, Nihitam Guhayam. Okay, when the religious principles is there in the heart of a person who's unadulterated, right? That saintly person, Mahajano Yena Gata Sapantaha. So, Mahajana is also known as Mahatma, an honest man. So, Lord Krishna is known as Jananivas. He is the shelter of all the Janas. But what kind of Janas? Mahajana, Sujana, not Durjana. Okay, so Mahajano is also known as Mahatma, right? A great person, a devoted person, an honest person, a humble person. Lord Krishna says in 9.13, Mahatma nastu mam partha. He is describing who is a Mahatma. Mahatma nastu mam partha devim prakritir rashrita. The devotees are always under the shelter. Devim prakritim ashrita. Under ashrita, shelter. Which Prakriti? Daivim Prakriti. Under the shelter of Yogamaya, spiritual energy. Because they are always, it's like Satatam Kirtayantumam, Bhajantya Ananya Manaso. That without deviation, Manaso, it's starting with mind, right? Without deviation of the mind, they're always doing devotional activities. Satatam Kirtayanto Mam. Just before that shloka Mahatmanasumam Partha 9.13, Lord is describing about Avajananti Mamudha. Okay, about Durjanas. What happens with them? Moghasha. Okay, even if they try to go to the Vaikuntha Lokas, they're bewildered. Mogha Karmano. Even if they try to do fruitive activities, they're bewildered. Right? They are not able to get the result of Swarga. Moghasha, Mogha Karmano, Moghasha, Mogha Jnana. The intelligent, through their intelligence, using their intelligence, they are trying to attain liberation. All these people, Avajananti Mamudha. Okay, because they are under the shelter of whom? Under the shelter of illusory energy. Okay, these mudhas, so Rakshashim Asurim Chaiva, then Mohinim, Prakritim Shrita, Mohini. When we say Mohinim Prakriti means illusory energy. So the people who are of Rakshasa, the nature, the demonic, or the Asuri means atheistic nature, such people will never get the shelter, I've got 2 minutes, never get the shelter of the Lord. Okay, because they are not taking the shelter of Mahajano Yena Gata Sapantha. That you need to take a shelter of realized people to understand the Lord. So in this case, when you are being led by a Vaishnava, so all the activities are devotional. So beautiful. And imagine where there is kusha grass. So there when Lord bore, when he had wet body, after fighting he shook his body, you know. Normally if you see the animals, they shake the body. In this case, Lord, that is the Supreme Lord. So in Vara Avatar, he shook his body and his hair from his body fell on this capital, Barhishmati. So from there came kusha grass. I know a lot about kusha grass. I've not heard much about kasha grass. But kusha grass is actually very auspicious. My mother uses it, kusha grass. Right? Even so anyone who has the Dvija has the second initiation. So when my mom sits on it and she does it on the kusha grass. So it is said that when you're doing yajna, any kind of yajna, right? Even Harinam Sankirtan yajna, if you have kusha grass, that's great. Especially when homa, fire sacrifice when you're doing, you need kusha grass mat. And the one who's conducting, they will wear the kusha grass ring, right? There will be a connection. You know, if you've seen Prana Pratishta of in ISKCON deities, normally with the kusha grass there is this very long connection all the way till the deities when they're doing homa yajna, right? So it is considered very, very auspicious. When they're doing homa yajna, the fire sacrifice, around the sacrifice also they put kusha grass to ward off inauspiciousness, right? That is the whole purpose. So because it's the hair of Vishnu considered, it is supposed to be always giving a devotional atmosphere. Now you have seen a lot of kusha grass here I'm sure in Qatar. That's how we got it. Right? We always have this thing. There is also a particular time only you should pluck kusha grass. You should not just randomly take it. But that becomes ritualistic. If you're taking it for Krishna, it's alright. But for Homa Yajna, normally there is a time. You can only take it after the full moon day. But if you're taking for Lord Krishna, everything is acceptable, right? It's very, very Vedic, auspicious. So here, it's already 1 minute past 8. Just very important is the yajna. So we in Kali Yuga it is not recommended to do fire sacrifice because one in today's day and age that there is no a proper brahmana. Okay, that's one. Second, The reciters, one is no proper Brahmana because they have not been taught in proper school. Okay, the reciters, it is very important what the intent of the sacrifice is. If they are not pure, the sacrifice is not successful. So normally you've seen marriage sacrifices, right? We at least in marriages in India, you have fire sacrifice. Nowadays everybody makes fun of it, but usually you take Agni as the witness, and the yagya is considered as the mouth of Vishnu, right? So it is all offering to the Vishnu actually. So if you actually believe in the sacrifice, even if you don't understand the mantra of the Brahmanas, it actually works, right? Anyone who's done sacrifices. Now there will be, it is material world, there will be up and down materially. But if you are continuing with your spiritual activities, you will always see progress upwards. Okay. So one very important point I want to say. Sorry, I'll just take some extra time. Here, Swayam Bhuva Manu is a Mahajana. When Lord Krishna was, so I'll give you a parallel comparison. When Lord Krishna returned, the Dwarka Vasis met their Lord of their heart face to face. Right? So any Mahajana, any devotee, any person, right, even a sadhaka who's leading their subject under them, even starting from family, the unit. How does a society happen? It starts from the unit, right? What Arjuna was saying in the first chapter, starts from a family unit. So the head of the society, of the family, the head of the community, head of the town, head of the city, then it grows, then ultimate head, the emperor or the king or the state prime minister, right? If they are devoted, if they are spiritual, all the activities become auspicious. So just as the way the Dwarika's Vasis met Lord Krishna face to face, the whole point of our Guru Sampradaya, their head of our spiritual, sadhanas, right? Activities. So just like the Vaishnavas lead you to Krishna, the point is that your sadhana should be so good by following the instruction of Guru and Sadhu, Shastra, by following that instruction so that you can meet Lord Krishna face to face. Just like the Dwarka Vasis met Lord Krishna face to face. Now that is different whether you meet Lord Krishna in Naimittika Leela in one of the universes in the material world when he's doing his Leela, or in Nitya Leela when you become a Nitya Siddha and leave this material world for good and go back to the spiritual world. So either in Bhauma Leela, in Naimittika Leela in the world, or Paravyoma in the spiritual world. So any sadhana that we are doing, if we perform with 100% commitment, with sincere heart, following the instructions of gurus, this is the result. You will only have auspiciousness and glories of Lord Krishna around you, so that you will always think, right? So in the 12th chapter, how does the shloka start? The progressive level of bhakti, it starts with internal sense. Here it is said, like we were talking about 9.30, bhajanti ananya manaso. With mana, it starts with mana eva adhatsva. It starts with smarana atmika buddhi. So with smarana, and after you do shravana, it starts manana. When you do shravana of Vedic literatures, and when you go to the temple and do worship and see the deities of the Lord, you do smarana. With smarana you use mind. For manana you use intelligence, right? When you apply both of this becomes pure. Then you reach the state where you have a leader who is a Vaishnava. So not only at home, but also in the community. So we have to reach a stage where everywhere around us is a Shuddha Sattva platform. So that is very important. So you're seeing a very entire state which is a Vaishnava state. That's so amazing, right? So we have seen Vaishnava Namahata, a small community. But Vaishnava state is huge. Imagine having, like you have Jagannath Rath Yatra in a big scale. Imagine having Rath Yatra in that big scale where everyone is a Vaishnava because they've come to meet Lord Jagannatha, Baladeva and Subhadra out there. That is just a city during a couple of days. Imagine having this perennial 24/7. So amazing. That is the state we want to reach. Alright, Vaishnavas. Sorry for the extra 7 minutes. This is a beautiful shloka. Very nice. So, Hare Krishna to all the Vaishnavas.